honestly thought that because you were a victim of it, in so many ways. I know we can kind of get into all of that, and you played your part, kind of thing, whatever. But because it happened to you, the last thing that I thought was that you would then turn and do that to me.
What's up, everybody? My name is Sergey.
And I'm Rissa.
And we are the production couple. Thank you for tuning in to this episode. It's going to be an interesting one because we are deviating away from production altogether. We're getting into something that's a little more personal. We are joined today by a special guest, Baby Turtle.
Say hi.
Say hello to the people. You don't want to get your shouts out now? Come on now, 15 minutes of fame. You live. You live.
You live, baby.
All right, she's got nothing. She waits till I talk to interrupt.
Yeah.
See what I mean?
There we go.
Anyway, today we are talking about hurt people hurting people. I've heard a common phrase, mostly from Lecrae, the rapper Lecrae, and that's that hurt people hurt people. And I wondered how that looked for you specifically, being married to someone who has been divorced. And so just to give a little bit of a backstory, I was divorced 4 years ago. Oh no, I got divorced. I don't know. I don't remember. Cause it was actually a story. I'm not going to go into the whole story. Maybe another episode I will kind of share what happened. But for the most part, I was in a divorce. I was deeply hurt by that divorce.
She said she's sorry that you were hurt.
Okay.
And she loves you.
Thank you, Baby Turtle. Yeah, that the things that led up to the divorce and the divorce itself were deeply hurtful. And so I had a season where I was, obviously single and finalizing that divorce, and you and I became really good friends during the course of that time. And now here we are, married with a child. Mm-hmm. And doing a podcast together. Mm-hmm. And I just randomly thought about that today. Like, I wonder if she feels that I, as a hurt person, hurt her. And so I have a few questions I'm going to ask you.
Okay, I'm down.
Okay, Baby Turtle, do you want to? Are you reaching for me?
She's reaching.
Is that a reach for
Y'all,
Papa?
this is the first time she's reached for anything, and it's not for me.
You reach for Papa? You gonna say Daddy first, ain't
jealous.
You gonna say Daddy first, ain't you?
I'm so jealous.
Yeah, that Daddy Turtle. That Daddy Turtle.
If she do it again, I'm honestly gonna be salty. I'm gonna be so salty.
Be a whole new episode.
Wow.
Hurting people. All right. So to my questions. Question number one.
All right, go ahead.
Considering that phrase, were you considering how someone who had been married might hurt you if you got with them?
Well. Oh! I'm sorry.
Come to Papa. Yes.
I held you for 9 months. I developed you. I prayed over you. You look like your daddy. You don't even got any of my looks. Maybe a couple.
We listening. What you want to say to Mama?
Wow. You see how kids do you?
Daddy Turtle.
Daddy
Turtle.
What was the question?
The question was, did you feel
oh my gosh, I'm so jealous.
The question was, did you fear that someone who was divorced might hurt you? Or specifically that somebody who was hurt might hurt you?
My immediate thought when you first proposed the idea that we date or court, why you giggle?
People still say court.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not judging. I never really said it that much, but to each his own. But when you introduced the idea of it, the first thing that I thought immediately was, okay, what if he goes back to her? What if he still has feelings for her? And if I were to develop feelings for you and then, for whatever reason you decide to go back to her, that would hurt me. And so that was something that I immediately thought about. But outside of that, I wouldn't say that that was my immediate thought. I honestly thought that because you were a victim of it, in so many ways, I know we can kind of get into all of that and, you played your part kind of thing, whatever. But because it happened to you, the last thing that I thought was that you would then turn and do that to me. Because you knew the feeling behind it. You knew all that you went through. And the simple fact that you were even willing to step into another serious relationship that could lead to marriage was already big, and it already said a lot. But I know some people also, I will say another big thing is I could see the growth in you, and I could see the healing that took place for you, which was a huge thing. I remember when we went on our first date, the reason that was so important to me was because I actually wanted to see how you were. Like if I had went on the date with you and caught some vibes that you weren't really okay, or that you were, trying to fill a void and move things super quickly, and, just any kind of signs that you weren't over your previous experience, then I would have cut it all off. So
she had something to say.
I think she's hungry. Yeah.
All right, so we're going to take a quick commercial break. This interruption is brought to you by MkII, which we do not use because we take 100% whole breast milk.
Clearly. Look at this.
Wow.
Just going to put me all out there? Okay.
All right, and we will be back.
All right.
And cut. All right, so we had a quick intermission for the breast. So we're back. My question was, were you concerned that me being divorced and being hurt by the divorce, that I would hurt you?
No, but I will add that once I got to know you and learn more about your background and your roots, you always hear me say this, but I like to consider where things came from, and because I just feel like that a lot of what a person, what their environment was as a kid, or some of the experiences that they had in their earlier years kind of shapes who they are. Mm-hmm. And so once I started learning more about you and that from that front, I did question, would some of those things come back around?
And you would say you started to question that and make those observations once we were married, or prior to us ever becoming an item?
I would say it was around the time we were seriously dating, and definitely when we got engaged. I think when I officially moved to Texas, there was a lot more sides that I saw of you, mm-hmm. That I didn't get to experience when we were in a long distance relationship. And not to say that those sides were bad or anything, but there was just more of you that I got to experience that I wouldn't have been able to experience over the phone or FaceTime. So I think, yeah, with that being said, I think it had very little to do, or the phrase of hurt people had very little to do with your divorce, and more so with your previous experience, like with your family dynamic, or how you came up, like the environment that you had coming up, that kind of thing.
So unpack from your perspective what that looked like where some of that hurt that I experienced, like how did you come to recognize that? Like that
it was a hurt kind of, or right, pain, like, there.
How did you identify what the hurt was?
Mm-hmm.
And then at what stage, again, what did you identify that hurt? And how that would affect you?
We're able to be candid here, right?
Yeah.
Like, okay.
No, we keeping it a buck.
Okay. I think the very first observation that I made of you when we were engaged was that you had a tendency to be negative a lot, or make negative remarks, look at situations negatively. It just always seemed like it came from a negative place and not a place of someone who's happy and content with where they are, with who they are, that kind of thing. And so I began to just look at that a little bit closer and kind of question it, or question you about it in roundabout ways. So, for example, well, I'll just say that your family was also a big thing too, and how I did notice that you and your family were not close, and coming from a family that's super close, that was I could spot that quickly.
Yeah.
And so when I began to ask you why, or just question that in general, it was usually comments about how growing up you and your mom had an estranged relationship. Early on you guys were pretty tight, I would say, and then when she got into her problems, that began a tear for you. Mm-hmm. And so for me, I identified that as a root for you, because I can only imagine how it is growing up, especially in your adolescent years, where you need to depend on your mom the most. So much is changing for you, and for you to not have that dependency, you kind of have to depend on yourself, and that could create some kind of border or defensiveness in a way.
Yeah.
Woo, dang it. All right, we just got to go dolo. Hold on.
One for the money.
Sorry, I have this connector thing too. So
she bit you?
Yes. She's sweating under here. Hold on.
I'll blur you out.
Okay.
Didn't we do that in episode 1 where she was eating? Oh, she passed out.
She was hot under.
You want to go put her up?
Woo. Yeah.
All right. We're going to take a second intermission for the sleeps. This second intermission is brought to you by Beep Mattresses. Beep Mattresses is great and comfortable, and they have very affordable prices. Buy now and you can get a 15% discount if you use the code production C. I'm sorry. It's whack a ball. A ball that it's like it's whack a ball. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to mess it up though.
Okay.
Girl, she is passed out. You good?
Yeah. Thank you. Excuse me.
But anyway, like you were saying before you put the baby up, I wanted to actually kind of respond to that with another question. And because what you were explaining was good, like the things that you were recognizing in terms of my family and our not being so close, especially in comparison to your family being very close, and how that seemed to have an effect on our relationship, and that I was more negative towards things, and I would assume towards things that were more family oriented or things that were more family considering. No,
I wouldn't say that. Family was one of them, I would say.
Okay. Sorry, I had to set the baby monitor up.
Gotcha.
Okay. Well, then I definitely would like to hear like you expound on certain ways that you saw things, but I think I more specifically want to know like at what point. I think you said engagement. Okay, so
seriously dating / engagement.
Gotcha. So in our engagement, you would say you saw areas of sensitivity from me.
Yeah. That's a good way to put it.
So you saw areas of sensitivity that you think were a direct reflection of previous hurt from how I grew up.
Yeah, I think that would be a good way to put it.
Would you say that you saw it more from how I grew up than how things panned out in my previous marriage?
You know what? Now that I'm thinking about it, I think it's both. I can definitely say that see that it was both now. But then I think I gave little attention to your divorce and gave more of it to the dynamic that you had with your family.
At what point? Because my question originally,
engagement,
okay,
and seriously dating and engagement.
Okay, I'm saying previously, because we were good friends prior to.
Oh, previous to that.
Yeah, I'm saying so. Knowing Sergey just asked me out. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no. Like I had said before, I didn't give much. Well, I won't say I didn't give much consideration to it, but I just didn't see as much as I saw when we were first started dating and the long distance thing. I didn't see as much until we got more serious and when I officially moved to Texas.
Fair. Oh, that's fair. Okay. So then all in all, would you say, and this is my last question.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I just had 3. All in all, would you say that the saying hurt people is true as it relates to your marriage or our marriage?
Yes.
Okay, explain.
From my, I would say for me, that can come out. Well, I put it this way. I don't think I would say that the phrase hurt free people is more relevant in our relationship. I think it's more so our experiences and our past, regardless of if they were good or bad, will come out. And unfortunately, a lot of the bad can come out. And that doesn't have to necessarily be a previous experience that hurt me per se, but it was it can be experiences where I developed the tendency to be defensive or sensitive to certain topics, or develop trust issues, that kind of thing. And I think, just speaking for me, I know that my previous relationships caused me to have issues with trust, and always feeling like I had to depend on myself. And that's honestly tied a little bit to how I grew up too, like how I was raised by my dad. I'm glad you said all that, because that was my retort. Yeah. So, I mean, there's so many different things. In my relationship with my dad isn't horrible or anything like that. It's a great relationship. So that came from a good place, but it somehow, turned into something that I have to be conscious of in my relationship with you. So it's, as people, we're so complex. So I just think overall, who you are overall is gonna show up in your marriage, and it's gonna show up big. I've honestly just learned over the course of this year that marriage is just like a huge mirror, and it's constantly revealing yourself. It's just a constant revealing of yourself.
Word. No, I'm glad you mentioned the trust thing, because I think the phrase hurt people hurt people is true, not just in our marriage. I think it's just there's a truth to it in a few different facets. Firstly being the way it sounds, just someone who's been hurt, someone who's been sexually abused as a child might be more prone to reenacting a lot of the things that he or she might have experienced. Yeah,
especially if you don't heal from it and recognize it.
But another way that I look at it is hurt people may not necessarily be defining of inflicting pain. It may be more so defined by missing something. Like, you ever heard the term, like, man, I'm hurting for, you know what I'm saying? Like, man, I'm
elaborate.
Yeah. So like, I've heard it said a lot of times, like, man, I'm hurting for a good, I don't know. I'm spacing on a good example.
Burger.
Yeah. Why did we both think burgers? That's crazy. This vegan life is, you know what I'm saying? The boys ain't had no burgers in
I thought
months.
burger, barbecue,
Yeah,
everything meat.
Okay, fine. We're vegan, right? So the big thing for us is cheese. You know, we can make like I had nachos today with, you know, meatless meat. Mm-hmm. And I was like, man, cheese will set this off right. Mm-hmm. Like, I'm hurting for some cheese.
Okay.
I'm not hurt, like inflicted. I'm just missing something.
Okay. So how would that look in a relationship?
So I think not necessarily in a relationship, but just like in upbringing or in relationships previously. In your case, you know, if you, not saying you did, but if you grew up with missing the attention from a father, mm-hmm. right? Shout out to your dad, because I love you. Anyway, OG, I don't only want to say his name. What up, Dad? Anyway,
call him Kevin.
Yeah, yeah. OG.
Has he told you that story yet?
No.
Okay.
Anyway, but you know, if you had, you know, missed out on affirmation from your father, mm-hmm. quality time from your father, mm-hmm. then you mature, or you get older at least, and you have these relationships where you're missing intimacy from those relationships, mm-hmm. You know, dating or otherwise, and then you move up.
I get what you're saying. So the hurt that you experience, or the lack of something, it's causing you to desire something, to desire it in a way?
No, you just missed out on it. You were hurting for it.
Okay.
You see what I'm saying? Like, I was hurting for the cheese. Like, you were hurting for, you know, affection from a father or intimacy from, so you were hurting for it, not from it.
Okay.
See what I'm saying? And so
you think that
in consideration of that, I think in our relationship, a lot of ways where I feel like coming up, I didn't get a lot of like respect from, my family, you know what I mean? And that's a whole nother episode in itself. But like, I felt like that is something I saw follow me. I was hurting for that thing, and hurt people in my relationships because of it, because I did things that tried to demand it or take it from. I was very assertive or rude or negative in ways that I thought would make people see me in a more dominating and respect me. You know, mm-hmm. I have people to this day who still call me and ask me things and try to get my opinion because they think I'm gonna keep it real or whatever, even if it is negative.
Right.
And I was gunning for that when you know what I mean? I was going to be the negative and hard or harsh person so that people would respect my position. Right.
And so I think we're saying the same thing, just in two different ways. Like, that was an example of what I saw as negative. Like, I would have described that as being a negative Nancy, like, or being overly critical of something. Like, it's hard for you to find something nice to say in this moment. Like, it has to be overly critical. Yeah. And I gathered or identified that came from a place, and that came more than likely from your childhood first. Mm-hmm. And then I'm not sure if it showed up in your relationship in that she didn't show you or give you the respect that you desired, but I know for sure that it came from your family more than anything. Mm-hmm. And I was able to see that when I saw you interact with your family. Like, I know that sensitivity was still there. Yeah. I'm
honest enough to state, like, I did a lot of hurting, inflicted. I brought forth a lot of pain. Struggle bus, man.
I was excited. I was happy.
Nah, but no, I caused a lot of pain to my ex because of the way I grew up, in the ways that I felt disrespected. I remember always seeing conversation as an argument. We've talked about how sensitive I am. You know, anything that, you know, feels like opposition is like
Yes.
You know?
I think what did I ask you yesterday? I asked you if you brought a tote or something in the kitchen.
Yeah.
And
I'm gonna write that down real quick. So here's the deal, Marissa. I'm in the middle of getting my photo booth ready because I have a show Sunday, and anyway, so I'm getting the equipment ready, and out of nowhere, Marissa's behind me, and she's like, "Do you still need this tote or something like that?" You said, are you using this tote? You need this tote, and it was this small like canvas fabric tote or whatever that was just sitting in the dining room. Now, I had no clue. I didn't even know we owned that thing. I didn't know what it was. You know what I mean? Like it's just been there. I didn't put it there, and there's only one other person in this house that could have put it there. But when she asked me that, all of that ran through my mind, and I was like, is she trying to blame me for the tote being out of place? Because Marissa is a very clean person. She's gonna straighten up, and
that's what I was doing.
Yeah,
really.
so she was just walking around the house straightening up. But when she asked me that, I heard, oh, she's blaming me for putting that tote there. I didn't hear, because she didn't ask like, you know, hey, the question was, did you still need this tote? As if I put the tote there, kind of thing. It's what I heard, right? But you might have very much just thought like, oh, this tote is here. Maybe he's using it for something.
Yeah, and I honestly didn't know if you put it there, like if you brought it from somewhere, because we have several of these totes, like just throughout the house, and they're in stored places, so you wouldn't really see it, which is why you probably didn't know how many we had or if we had them at all. I don't
use those totes at all.
They're usually put away somewhere, so when I saw it out, I couldn't recall if I put it there or not, or if I put it somewhere else and he just moved it there because he was using it. So I just asked, and I saw the irritation in your face.
My immediate thought was like, why are you asking me? Like, are you trying to insinuate that I put it there?
And I'm like, I'm just asking a question.
It's not this. Yeah.
Yeah. And my first thought was, it's a tote. Like, I don't care that much to be all in your grill. But because I know that about you, I'm still learning to be more patient in that regard, because I know it can be sensitive for you. Like a slight change in tone can just set you off sometimes.
Yeah.
So I had to be mindful of that. But if I'm honest, it was a little like irritating. Like this is a very small thing, but
and you mentioned it earlier, just like how certain hurt, you know, from your upbringing and previous relationships might, you know, affect our relationship. So to ask the same question I asked you of myself, I actually would agree with your answer of, yes, you've seen it in our marriage. I've definitely seen it in our marriage by way of,
from me.
Yeah. Mostly just from previous relationships. And I think those are highlighted in my mind because on the back end, I'm trying my best because of how I was, you know, the things I dealt with in my previous marriage and how I was, I guess, refined, or, you know, how I learned from that, from my previous marriage. I'm trying to go hard in our marriage and doing all the things correct that I messed up in my previous. So in doing that, one of the things I noticed is that you have a hard time allowing me to do that, because you have these barriers, these, you know, at least in the beginning, it was a lot of trust issues. It's like, man, he wants to, oh my gosh, I can't think of an example, but it's like, I might want to do some uber sweet thing. You know what I mean?
Our first date, I didn't even want you to call it a date.
Yeah. That's a fact. Like, oh, I'm like, let me take you out. Oh, don't say it like that. Like, oh, well. Anyway, but yeah, like that. I want to be sweet and, you know, come in and impress you and, you know, just kind of like cater to you in a way that maybe no other guy ever has done. Like take you out on a very
And I always questioned
date.
your motives for a while. I questioned your motives. Like, you know, it almost seemed like I was kind of self-sabotaging in a way.
I asked you that.
And that came from a few places, I think. But, you know, I wasn't, for one, I for sure wasn't used to being pursued in a way, or in that way, in a way that was very serious, that was very thoughtful, and just all the things, honestly. To be honest, just being pursued outside of, hey girl, let me get your number. You trying to come over, Netflix and chill. Like I felt like I was always in situations where I had to pump the brakes, or I saw the true intent behind the guy that I was dating, and it wasn't good. Like they weren't really interested in getting to know me, let alone, consider me and being their wife. Like that's, I always had a desire to one day be married. And the older that I got, the more serious that that became. And I wasn't trying to just talk to you for forever.
So here comes Sergey, and he's with all the things in a matter of 6 months. Yes,
we got engaged in 6 months,
yeah,
which is crazy.
So, but
and
like,
most of it was long distance.
Yeah.
So it was moving very fast for me. And I also like to feel like I have things under control. I'm a huge planner. If it doesn't go my way, like, how that can go.
Yeah.
Like I get very flustered, and it's hard for me to stick with the plan and continue forward if it's not going how I anticipated it on going. Like if something happens, I'm going back to the drawing board and trying to plan it out again. So, and you're just not that kind of person. Like you're just kind of, let's roll with it. Let's see where this goes. Let's just do it. And you took our relationship, with that approach. And, so all of these different things combined, I just kept sabotaging it in a way. Like I kept trying to find things that, I felt like were going to end our relationship, and to see you come back around and just hit me with the no, I'm not going anywhere kind of thing. It was like, okay.
You know what that just made me think of?
What?
I can't say it on air.
Is it a movie or something?
No, it's something that happened.
Oh,
where I was like, I'm not going away.
R?
Yeah.
Okay. I don't know where this is going.
Yeah, I won't say it on here.
You have to tell me later.
You remember when we came back to Dallas?
When we came back to Dallas
or when you moved back to Dallas from Cali?
Yeah.
What happened? What were you thinking about? What happened the week prior?
Oh, right. You don't want to say that on here?
Nah.
Okay.
That is a whole new episode.
We'll have to ease that one in.
Yeah.
All right. But yeah, no, I definitely get what you're saying. But yeah, when you always maintain the approach of, I'm here, I'm not going anywhere. Let's just like work this through. Let's, talk about it. Let's ask a friend or someone to help us sift through this, and all of that. It was just very, very different for me. And to be honest, a big part of me just didn't like or I won't say didn't like, I was very uncomfortable with releasing some of the control of where the relationship was going, how fast it was going. And, in some instances, I felt like I had that right, to say, hey, I think we are moving too fast. Let's just put a pause on there. So, but outside of that though, there was just a lot of things where I just felt like, okay, this is very different and I'm not used to it. So therefore I don't like it.
Right.
Yeah. Did you have other questions?
No.
Well, wait, I wanted to ask you, I know this is getting super lengthy actually.
It's cool.
I really just wanted to ask the same questions you asked me.
Go for it.
Just to hear your thoughts on it. Would you say that you experienced me hurting you in ways that I felt hurt previously? Wait, did we just talk about that?
No. I have an example already that came up.
Okay. Not tread lightly, but be gentle. Okay? Be gentle. If you put my stuff out there.
All right. So your question is, do I know, or can I think of any ways that you hurt me?
Yep.
And that came from previous hurt.
Yeah.
So when we were engaged, I'm going to let a little bit out here. So when we were engaged, I think we were maybe a month out from, I don't remember how long it was before our like wedding, but I do know like our purity was starting to like take hits. Yeah. Right? Our purity was taking big hits.
Yeah.
And so I remember.
And it sucked.
Yeah. I remember that having an effect on our relationship. Mm-hmm. In that, one, I was this guy that was trying to understanding what your like purity or like life was, testimony was prior to me or whatever. I was trying to make sure that I was never seen in the light of someone who wanted to take advantage of you sexually. Right? So
background information, you were a virgin up until marriage.
Yep.
I was not. I lost my virginity right before college, and horrible decision because I'm now transitioning to college in a whole nother state and
in heat. I'm sorry.
No.
I'm so sorry.
Not at all. I was actually very just heartbroken that I had did that, and that honestly damaged who I thought I was. And so going into college with that kind of mindset was just horrible. In short, I was not a virgin. He was until marriage. And by the time we started dating, I was pretty much his second relationship, and we were engaged at that point. So
yeah. So at that point, when our purity started taking a hit, I remember you saying something to me to the effect of like, I wasn't leading well. You felt like in our relationship I wouldn't be able to lead you because
I totally put all of
essentially you just threw our purity on me,
our like sin on you, essentially. Like I didn't do anything. I played victim for sure.
And so but you spoke of it as if I was somebody who took advantage of you, like as if I was. Because you would say things like, all of this is happening so fast or whatever. And it almost felt like you were insinuating not just the quickness of how our relationship was developing, but like as if I was doing that to get in your pants or to, just kind of take advantage of you sexually, have certain sexual favors or whatever, right?
Because that is a very good example, actually.
Yeah. So hold on, let me finish. So,
okay.
When you said that, I remember being like literally crying because I thought this person blames me for our sin, but like in between us, she not hates me, but like she doesn't like who I am. Not only will we not work, I'm going to lose my friend. I'm going to lose the best relationship to ever happen to me. We won't work. Secondly, and this is what made me cry, like bawl crying, was she was willing before the Lord to throw me under the bus. Like all of this is Sergey's fault. I'm clean free. He took advantage of me. Whoop-de-whoop. You know what I mean? And that is what had me like devastated, because I was like, I want to marry this woman. And what will that look like in marriage? And eventually I came around to thinking about, or at least considering, like, well, what were her relationships like prior to you? And what might have...
I remember you hit me with that. I think you said something like, I can't remember verbatim what you said. I just remember how it felt. But you eventually came around, after we took some space, and you said something along the lines of, I'm not like your exes, or, something like that. I can't remember what it was exactly. But it was something around those lines that made me realize that I was not only putting the sin that me and you just committed before the Lord, but I was taking all of my previous sins that I committed with the other men that I'd been with, because all of that gets brought back up, honestly, when you do something like that. All of that just comes back up, it resurfaces, and you feel all of that pain, all the feelings that you feel when you commit a sin against God. Like, it all just resurfaces, unfortunately. And I had to put that somewhere. So I was putting all of that on you. like everything, even from my previous relationships, onto you.
Yeah.
So yeah,
that was
I remember it clicking in that moment after that.
Yeah. That would be an example where your previous hurt, I think
it's a good one.
Kind of snuck into, I'm struggling with the words today, but yeah, snuck into our relationship. Next question.
That's a good one. Let me see. How would you say we have managed our previous hurts, or what's one way that you've managed your previous hurts and dealt with them so that they won't resurface in your relationship with me and even in your relationship with others? Like, what's one thing that you
I got 3
do? That's quick. All right.
3, because they're big ones. Like without them, I'm totally effed up.
Yeah.
Number 1 was therapy.
Yeah.
That was like the big thing. Get in somebody's chair, and just, I was fortunate enough to have somebody that I consider like a friend now. But he didn't treat me like, one of his clients or whatever. It really felt very what's the word? Authentic. It just felt like authentic, like candid conversation. It didn't feel like,
So tell me, how does that make you feel?
Like every sentence had like a prescription.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It wasn't like that. So therapy was 1. Community was 2. That's my favorite Christian word. Community, like.
What do you mean by community? Because, we might have people on here that aren't Christians.
3.
So they probably don't know what that means.
Yeah. So community, most people believe community are the people who live, like have a proximity to you and can hold you accountable to the truths of God's holy word. And so for me, those people don't necessarily live like in my neighborhood. Like my church is small group community, I forgot what they call small groups. It's like people who live within 5 minutes of your house and they can just pull up on you kind of thing, which is great if you have that. But for me, I trust Chris Ragland, Mitchell, and Robinson as like my go-to. And I have other friends for sure that I'll keep it a buck with and I'll talk through things with. But those 3 are the 3 I know will pull up like immediately. Those 3 are the ones that know like the depths of everything. So everything is vaulted with them, between my therapist, my community, my 3 brothers, and then lastly you, like our relationship, sustaining honesty. You know what I mean? I remember, I don't know if you remember in the beginning, honesty is my policy. Yeah. And so that's a big thing with me. Those big 3 is, making sure I'm in therapy, or, when things were really rough, I was definitely in therapy far more often. Being honest with community and being honest with you.
Okay. And you would say that those are still relevant in our marriage now?
Not therapy. I'm not in therapy right now, but I think the other 2, yeah. Like I can always turn to my bros or whatever. We, always got the group text popping, always checking in. I honestly, shout out to Darrell. That's my dog. I don't go too many days in a row without talking to him.
Love Uncle D.
Yeah. But yeah.
Okay.
Those are my big 3. All right. We done?
Sidebar. You could probably cut this out. When it comes to conversation, I always expect that you would return the question, because that's what most people do. Like, I ask you a question, you answer. So what about you?
You want to know what I just did in my head? I didn't return the question because I thought I knew the answer. In my mind, I was like, I didn't want to put her on the spot. If I assume that you may not know, or at least I was thinking about my answer in relation to you. Like, who's her community? Does she go to therapy? You know what I mean? That's what I did. And I'm not saying it's right. It's effed up, actually. But I didn't ask the question intentionally because I was like, I don't know if she has an answer.
You could have asked me, and
I'm about to, because we can edit that part out. So what about you? What's a way that you combat your hurt? Yeah, your hurt creeping into our relationship.
I do a lot of self-reflection and self-evaluating.
What does that look like?
And I filter that through God's word and honestly prayer. So that could look like me. That more than likely would look like me taking a step back and asking myself, am I in the wrong here? Mm-hmm. And really processing that. And usually more times, 9 times out of 10, I'm able to, or honestly, God just kind of reveals to me my heart in a lot of situations. And I go from there. I have conversations with a few people, including my older cousin, Crystal, my friend Cameron, aka BT.
Killer Cam.
But yes, I'll have those conversations with them and just talk about how I feel in certain situations. And usually if I'm able to at least get it out, it just helps me process it a little bit better. And to add to that, I journal. Word. And that adds to getting things out and being able to fully process my emotions and where it's all coming from.
I'm sorry. No, journaling is A1. Like I remember when I used to journal. Mm-hmm. That was awesome. That was very therapeutic. Mm-hmm. Well, yeah, I don't have anything else. Do you? Mm-mm. We're nearing 50 minutes. So we're at 50 minutes.
Really?
Yeah.
It's a good conversation though.
Yeah, they're really good. Thank y'all so much for tuning in. I think that was really good conversation. For whatever reason, it was just on my mind. Definitely appreciate your honesty.
Yeah. We have a question for you guys. Yeah. So what are some ways that, you could be honest if you want to and share some of the ways that you had hurt people in the past because you were hurt. But more importantly, what were some ways that you were able to combat that? Feel free to share with us in the comments below or send us an email at theproductioncouple@gmail.com.
Yep.
And let us know.
You can also follow us on Instagram at TheProductionCouple.
Yep.
Before you do anything else, make sure you subscribe to the channel if y'all want to be made aware of new episodes. We try to put them out once a week. So go ahead and subscribe. Hit the bell for notifications. And we out.
All right, y'all. Bye. Oh,
I remembered this time.
You did, and I forgot.